All right, it's time to talk about speed. Marty, you've been here before. We've seen a little bit about the stack system, but I mean, probably a year or so since we did that. So things have evolved.
Yeah.
Let's jump right into it. New gadgets, different sports, different apps, different everything. Like, I'm going to let you just run with it. Go.
Yeah, give us a background on what it was to begin with and what we're all talking about from start.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the concept is overspeed overload training, right? And this is the secret sauce behind the stack is that our hardware, it's one piece of hardware, but we have 5 weights that give you, when you do the combinatorics, 30 combinations of finely spaced weights that change the load, and that's what we're controlling for the player, right? And then every single swing you make is guided and tracked by our app, and you measure every swing with a speed radar, and we connect to a bunch of them. We'll talk about this one here in a little bit. And so because you do that, we can personalize every single individual stacker's training program as if you're working with the savant of speed, my co-founder, Dr. Sasha McKenzie, who's helped tons of tour players, including Matt Fitzpatrick, Victor Hovland, and others, gain tons of speed. His algorithms are behind the app. And so, you know, it's like as if every stacker is working with him personally. It's like the app is your personal trainer. You get access to Sasha, the world's leading expert in biomechanics, overspeed, overload training. And it's kind of this combination of like awesome hardware that gives you the ability to have finely tuned loads, and that's really the key, is that we can customize, Mark, for you. Even let's say you're swinging in 100 miles an hour, I'm swinging 100 miles an hour on average. Right. You might be more sensitive to taking away and adding weight than I am. So we could be the same clubhead speed, you would get a different program than I get to.
That's
the app is that intelligent, and the app also looks at all of your previous workouts. Like let's say you're at 100, you do several sessions, you're just kind of staying around 100, maybe 101, 102, you jump up to 105. You break through a little ceiling there. The app will recognize that, and you'll suddenly start getting heavier weights. Gotcha. And this all happens automatically within the app. So it's been super fun. The product's been out there about 3 years. We now have 40,000 people doing the stack.
Wow.
40,000 people. We've tracked almost 30 million swings. So our database is enormous.
Right, so you're going to get better at this over time, too, right? You kind of experiment and play around with the app and the algorithms and see what works the best.
Exactly. So we actually are learning, cool. Like we'll do things like we will adjust the rest times for one group of stackers and another, and we can see, like before this, my co-founder Sasha would be, you can imagine to get 10 or 20 people in the lab coming in regularly for 6 or 8 weeks, measuring statistical significance between Group A and Group B in a very academic sense. That would take a long time. Right. Now, because we have so many people doing it, we can run academic level studies with our users, and every user is generating more value and making the training more efficient for future stackers, which is super cool. So it's personalized. It's dynamic. The app is super fun. It cheers for you if you break a speed record.
Yeah, I heard that a few times.
It will continually try to assign you a program and a protocol that's going to maximize your probability to gain speed and do it. I think the key to our product has been very sticky, is that it doesn't take a ton of time. Right? No. Like it's not the training you would do if you're a long drive driver, where your whole life's goal is to hit as far as possible. We do this for the working golfer. You know, you're a family person, you're working, you're your job, you sneak in a quick workout, okay, I'm going to get my stack session in for 20 minutes, and you do it 2 times a week. So it's easy to comply to it, and so that's another part of what's made the stack so fun and successful.
So 2 times a week for how long period?
Yeah, the meat and potatoes program, when somebody enters it, is called the foundation. That's what most people do. And that program takes 6 weeks. So you train, 2 to 3 times a week. You really just want to space it out, kind of like weightlifting, right? You wouldn't, if you're trying to increase your bench press, you don't go in there every day.
Yeah, it's the same thing with swinging golf club, right? If you hit a bunch of balls one day, next day your speed's down a little bit.
Exactly.
And then it comes back up again.
Yeah, so you want to kind of be fresh when you do it. So that's why you wait 2 to 3 days between sessions, and takes 6 weeks to go through one full training program. Now the data is our average user gains 9.92 miles an hour in 6 weeks, which is 27 yards. Imagine that.
And I'm sure there's categories in there, 9.9, but are you seeing guys starting at 80 miles an hour getting to 90?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then you're seeing guys at 110 get into 120 too?
Yes, we're seeing gains across the spectrum.
Is there one group that tends to gain more than others? I would think the lower speeds, you got more upside.
Yeah, it's a really good question, Mark. I think because we have such a broad age range.
Right.
Like we have juniors, 7, 8 years old, that are doing it. They're naturally gaining speed anyway. This kind of gives them a cool boost. And the big thing when you're that age is to like have that intent.
Yeah.
That intent to swing it fast. And when you give a number to a kid,
oh, they're going to try.
They're just going to try. Oh, I'm going to break it. I do that with my kids. So fun. So the juniors obviously are gaining tons of speed, but they're kind of growing and getting more strength. Anyways, I think the fun one for me, Mark, is the golfer that's kind of on the tipping point of starting to lose speed. Like age, if you look at our big data, about age 45 or 50, you see this kind of this little decline. We're all feeling it. I'm in that range right now. But when you can help the 55, 60-year-old swing it faster than, let's say they've been gaining 10 miles an hour. Now they're swinging it faster,
20 yards by their buddies. That's massive.
Faster than they've ever been.
Yeah.
So maybe they've lost 3 or 5. Now they've trained with the stack. They're faster than they've ever been at age 55. And then they can do programs in the app to help them just maintain through tournament season.
Right.
So we have options in there to kind of, hey, it's tournament season. Maybe I won't be going through a full program. You can do what's called the Flex program in the app, which is, hey, I want to train for 12 minutes 2 times a week, and it'll give you a program to try to maintain your speed. And that's kind of what, like a Matt Fitzpatrick does during the big tournament season.
Right.
But speed training is kind of like brushing your teeth. You know, it's like a habit you want to keep. To kind of, once you gain that speed, to maintain the speed.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is you stop using it and you start losing it again. And
exactly.
You don't want to go backwards.
Yeah.
One of the things I have, and let's get a little technical here, is, these guys, yes, these weights are heavy, but they're not bench pressing, increasing bench press. They're not stretching specifically, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not in the app saying, hey, get down on one leg and do a yoga
Well, there's
move.
some stretches and stuff they should do.
To warm up.
Yeah,
there is. To raise your core body temperature, you definitely want to be warmed up.
Okay.
But the actual, protocol is not necessarily involved that directly.
So it's not telling you to lift weights, it's not telling you to stretch, and I think that's what most common golfers are like, right, I want to gain speed, I'm going to do those things. So what is it about the stack that's creating that speed gain if you're not gaining muscle mass or flexibility?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think this is complementary to a fitness program, right? I think if let's say you're a hardcore golfer, but you got a job, you got family, you got all these commitments, try to squeeze in a nice core a fitness program. You could just baseline strength, prevent injury, feel good, have energy, all those things. Then do your speed training. But those two things shouldn't be confused. And I think that's the heart of what your question is.
Yeah,
right.
You need to do both.
Strength over here can help you give potential for more clubhead speed. But I'll give you an example. Scott Stallings got super strong.
Right.
And we got super strong. He actually got slow. Right. So he was one of our huge stackers. He got on here. He didn't stop or necessarily change his strength training. He loves to do it. He feels great, looks great, but he got slow, right? Because he wasn't training the fast twitch muscle fibers, golf specific, speed training. So he got hardcore into the stack last year and gained a bunch of clubhead speed back. Now he's got both, right? That's a really good example right there of the need to train speed and have your fitness at the same time. So to answer your question is, why does the stack work, right? You're not increasing your bench. You're not okay, I'm doing a yoga stretch and get more range of motion or whatever. It comes down to overspeed, overload training, right? And so the co-founder, Sasha McKenzie, his background's in track and field. And so he did a lot of training, where, let's say for sprinting, where you would run, and you've probably seen this, where you'd run with like a parachute on your back, right? And it slows you down. Well, you can't put too big of a parachute. You have to have the perfect size to slow you down, the right percentage, so that you overtrain all those muscles and those fibers to be able to produce that stimulus that your body needs,
So that's the whole idea of changing the weights and stuff. You're trying to get that maximum weight, what size of the parachute.
Yes.
That's going to do the best for you.
Yes, and the app.
And everybody's different.
And everybody's different, right? So Sasha was talking about how him and his training partner, they ran this certain sprint distance at the exact same speed. Well, Sasha was 40 pounds lighter than his partner that he trained with, so they would have very different parachutes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
So that's to slow you down. That's the overload side. Then the overspeed side would be in sprinting. People will run behind. You've seen some Olympic athletes do this behind a shield that reduces the drag. Right. So now you're all of a sudden you're running way faster.
The muscles will learn how to go faster.
And you learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all that training from the other sports is definitely applicable to this object. I mean, at the very simplest, you can kind of think about the stack as swing, stick, fast. That's your goal. It's to raise your ceiling. And one of the benefits then is when you actually go to play golf, your 80% or 90% swing, the perceived effort, is now faster than it was when your max out effort.
That's why I always like to think about with golf is like, I mean, I use 120 as a number. I'd love to get to, if I can get to 120 maxed out with a driver, well, I know that my 80% is still in the teens.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's surprising too.
Good.
Everyone thinks about that. They think about 80%, but 80%, if you're swinging 100, it's probably 98.
Yeah,
exactly.
It feels like when you slow it down.
Feels like
that's right.
Yeah, that's why people say, you swing smoother, you got to hit it further. Well,
Yeah.
You're only swinging 2 miles an hour further, but you hit the middle of the golf club, you definitely hit it further. So same kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm trying to tee you up, so hopefully I don't stitch you up. But I'm just acting as a client, and I'm out there, and I'm like, all right, I want to buy one of these sticks. I really want to gain speed. I'm not confident my technique is very good.
Yeah.
I don't want to build speed and build power or whatever it is into a bad technique. Like, how can you combat that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the major questions. I think a few of the big questions we get are, hey, if you're going to have just more speed and I'm already kind of wild, it's going to make me more wild. What do I do? Or am I going to get injured doing this, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've on that front, it's pretty interesting. The forces that you would experience, like hitting the ground, would be orders of magnitude more than the stack where you're not impacting the ground, right? So that's one thing to think about. On the side of the mechanics and driving the ball and things of that nature, we've actually seen, this is one of the parts of the stack I kind of have changed my mind on from the very beginning. I was a little bit, personally, and Sasha had a lot of confidence in this, the fact that you aren't hitting a ball, right? So you're not worried about centeredness of contact.
Yep.
I was a little bit worried about that at the very beginning of the stack. But we've actually found that because you don't have the consequence of where the ball goes and face, your face to path and things of that nature, it is actually a benefit because now you can work on your mechanics without consequence of where the ball goes. And it's very easy to then transfer those skills, the transfer of skill of speed and your mechanics is actually easier because you're not suffering every single time from fear. I've taken a lesson. You guys have taken lessons.
Oh, man,
that kind of makes sense to think about it because like I tell people, you get high handicaps. I'd rather fit you indoors because I don't want them reacting to the previous shot they hit that was bad and have a totally different swing.
Same thing, Mark.
So they're normal, same kind of thing, right?
Same exact
get their normal swing. It's probably not as bad as they're adjusting for it.
Yeah, so the void of consequence is good. I'll give you my personal example. I underturn, my neck tilt goes this way, my hand path gets short, I underturn in my shoulders and my thoracic. So every time I train with the stack, I'm getting tons of reps in working on the opposite. Longer hand path. More vertical force, more up and down, more drop, more vertical.
So it's not a bad idea to think about what you're working on your swing while you're using it.
No, it's actually a very good thing.
Right.
It's actually a very good thing.
That's what you want you to do. And I tell you what, 100% that's true because, I tend to get flat and I struggle with that or have for years.
Yeah.
And, I can swing a club perfectly on plane without the ball there. As soon as the ball goes there, I get flat.
Yeah.
So something happens when the ball's there that adjusts that.
Yeah.
So I need to actually practice, more swinging, without the ball there.
Without the ball there.
Get it kind of grooved at that point. Yeah.
So you got the same thing. Mark, you got without the ball there, and you're going at very high speeds with a high intent.
Right.
And the transfer of that when you then actually go to play golf has been phenomenal. And our users have validated this. They've said, hey, I was worried that I would start hitting the ball more crooked. And it's actually the opposite. Because one of the benefits is the golfer is getting tons of reps in. That's another benefit. Let's say you live in the Northeast, wintertime. You're coming into the wintertime, and you're like, what am I going to do this winter? And you're used to coming out in the spring, and you're rusty, you don't have your golf senses, your golf muscles aren't kind of with you. Those people who do the stack in the wintertime, they come out fresh banging with tons of club head speed, and it gives them a major jump start to their season.
Yeah, I believe that.
I mean,
I've lived in England for a long time. I know that feeling of like itching to get out and play golf.
Itching to get out there, but imagine you're in your garage doing the stack,
Yeah.
you know, every third day. You just get tons of reps in, right? You're going to have tons of reps. Every session you do, you're going to have, you know, 35 full intent reps of swinging at either full intent or maximum intent. And you do that over the period of 6 weeks. That's a lot of reps.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people
Adds
don't
up.
hit that many balls, right?
No,
You can't, or it's wintertime or
Yeah.
what have you. So that's a major benefit. I think the other thing is, from a distance versus accuracy standpoint that we've studied, is that the value of distance is higher than accuracy at a ratio of 3 to 1. So, like it or not, that's what the statistics suggest.
I watched
right?
the whole thing with Mark Brody on the weekend about that, and I'm like, all right, you convinced me now. And he went through, broke it all down. It's
so for the
real
tour
deal.
player, it's 3 to 1. So if they gain 15 yards, they can live with 5 yards of offline, and that's a break even from strokes gained, right? So if you gain 15 and your dispersion grows 3, that's a strokes gained benefit for you.
Gotcha.
Right? But if you're an everyday golfer, that ratio is more sensitive towards distance.
I would think so too. Yeah.
It's more sensitive towards
Because you're
distance.
actually getting closer to the green, and you got a better chance to get it down, or lots of
100%.
things like
Everything
that.
compounds.
and it knocks onto the next club in the bag.
Yeah,
As long as
carry
you
that
don't lose the
bunker
shell off
versus
the
not
tee,
going in
right?
it.
That's about it.
Yeah, so as long as you have the big miss or the big penalty shot, so the everyday golfer can gain 20 yards, and as long as their dispersion doesn't grow by 10 or more, it's a benefit from a scoring standpoint. That's something very important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Like it or not.
There's got to be a
that is-
downside
that's-
somewhere. I guess.
No, I don't
20
think there
minutes a
is.
week. That's about it, right?
So we ran into this with Matt Fitzpatrick. He started hitting his irons kind of far, right? And so he was like, "Hey, dude, I love hitting my driver. You know, being down there 25 yards further. Now my 8-iron's going a little far and it's going a little high. You know, so that's one area where we just you can make some equipment adjustments. So one of the benefits of the stack mark is, like, you know, it's going to have people in getting their equipment tuned up a little bit more. Like, as you gain speed, let's say you have the
absolutely.
same
Things change, especially with driver, right?
with the
As
driver.
you know, I mean, change your launch and spin a little bit and gain 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, you're going to change it a lot.
You're going to change a lot.
Right.
Let's say you have the same 3D delivery. So you got the same
Angle of attack,
dynamic loft, angle of attack, all that stuff, and you gain 5 miles an hour of club speed, you're going to generate 250 RPM more spin.
Right.
People don't think about that because it's that frictional force.
Right, it's all
which
relative.
Is all relative. So you're more speed, bigger tangential force, more backspin on the ball. So as you gain speed, you need to look at your equipment.
Yeah.
If
You
you
lower
did-
your spin rates and
If you get near that 10 mile an hour mark, we're even talking about golf
Oh,
shaft
yeah.
itself. You know, you
Yeah,
might have jumped
absolutely.
the whole flex in.
Exactly. You got shaft, you got, you know, ball, spin, golf ball, be looking at all
Loft
those
on the head,
factors.
yeah,
Loft on
static
it.
loft.
Yeah,
That's
no,
a good
totally.
problem to have, though. I'd love to get 3
It
feet
is
for
a good
driver,
problem to have.
because my old driver just too swinging too fast to it.
But I brought up irons because it actually is another benefit to think about with speed training is not just driving. I mean, everyone thinks, oh, you're driving the ball. But guess what? You're hitting one, maybe 2 clubs less into the green.
Right.
And you're also hitting your irons higher. As you have more club speed, you generate more ball speed. Ball speed is arguably more sensitive than even launch and spin in terms of generating peak height, especially on long irons, right?
Right.
So ball speed drives peak height, and so that's a way. I mean, you guys go watch Bryson play golf. He's hitting the 200-foot mark on this apex.
Wow.
It's a major benefit when you get to firm golf courses, and you know, maybe not around here as much, but you get elevated greens, or, you know, I don't know. I'm playing the pro-ams at Greyhawk Raptor, and you get some of
Yeah,
those
you got a
pitch
couple of
greens,
those,
and
right?
they get a little bit firm.
You got to hit a spot.
If you're in the AMs I'm playing with, man, they just don't generate that peak height. So generating more peak height and getting more stopping power, having more speed out of the rough, these are all kind of the compounding benefits in addition to driving it further.
It's on the same point there. Going into the golfer, the first club that often gets dropped out of the bag, I think, is the 3-wood. This brings back in the potential to bring the 3-wood again, because when you get to a certain speed, it's like you can't get to the green.
Can't get it high enough to get there.
So you end up with a 5-wood where you know you're laying up, you're trying to pump it as far as possible. So if you can hit par 4s in 2, that changes the game.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the other, the products to go along with it. This wasn't released, I don't believe, when we talked last.
Correct. Yeah, brand new.
So tell us a little bit about what it is and benefits for it.
Yeah, super fun. I mean, it was a big strategic decision for us with the stack was we needed to, for our product to work and have the efficacy, is to measure the speed of every single swing. So, there's other products out there where you're kind of following videos and doing training, but because everything is so dynamic, we needed to measure the speed with every single swing. So we've had a bunch of compatible, we still do, we have a bunch of compatible radars, a little SSR thing, a little PRGR, all the Flight Scope products, even the Mevo Plus connects directly to our app. TrackMan just added speed training mode with the latest update at the PGA
they
show.
must be able to do it.
Yes, Frederick came through for us
and
added that with their latest firmware and software updates. The Rapsodo MLM 2 Pro and the MLM now do speed training. So hopefully we've influenced all the launch monitor companies a little bit. But the funnest one that we like is our own radar, so the Stack radar. And the fun thing about this is, outside of some of our Wi-Fi connections to our app, users, which actually has worked quite well, users would use this mode called dictate mode, which is you'd look at your radar, see what the number said, and then you talk it, and our app would listen to it.
Right.
Now with our Stack radar, you don't need to do that because it has Bluetooth. And this thing is so easy, Mark.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I'll fill you in. I tried this, right? And I had the PRGR one, which
Yeah.
worked really well, right? I mean, you swing and you say
Yeah.
86, and it says 86, and it enters it, which is great. But I just tried this thing, a couple weeks ago, and it's just so much easier. To be honest, I struggled a little bit because I thought it was more complicated. I thought I had to connect my phone to it, this, that, and the other, and I was trying to get my phone connected. But basically, just open the app, and it automatically finds it, and you swing away. So
Yeah, auto connect.
Super easy.
We are lazy as human
Yes.
beings, not us
Exactly.
personally, but we're lazy. Being able to buy it all in one
Yeah.
package and have it pop up on the screen in 2 seconds is a major thing for most
Yeah, it
people.
was really quick and easy.
Yeah, it was
Super
sweet.
easy.
So the Stack radar gives you the ability to do.
It seemed to be more accurate too than PRGR because it's designed to do this, not
Exactly.
necessarily watch a golf ball.
Yes.
So I noticed it was much more consistent than the PRGR.
It's pretty fun.
For this.
Up in Sasho's lab,
Right.
he has a motion capture system.
Right.
And so this is really fun. We should get some pictures of this. He'll do a setup in his mocap where we'll literally have about 12 launch monitors hooked up at one time.
Right.
We've
And
done
we're like,
3
okay.
before. We've had TrackMan Foresight and the Full Swing in there, and that's
Yeah,
cool, but
I
12 is
know.
a joke.
We have a lot in there. Sometimes we know which ones might interfere with the other ones and things of that
Right,
nature.
right.
But this is super tight from a club head speed and ball speed standpoint relative to his motion capture system. From club head speed and then ball speed, relatively easy to measure with the launch monitors. They do a pretty good job of that. And so we get a couple benefits with this. One, it can measure non-impact swings, perfect for stack training, Bluetooth the data right to the app. An added benefit, which I highly encourage, and I personally do, anyone that's working on speed training, is take this thing down. And everyone's seen the tour players take their Foresight or whatever out to the course. 95% number they're looking at out there is ball speed. Am I bringing my ball speed to the course? Well, you can just do that with this.
Right.
I leave this in my cart, right in the cup holder, flip it on real quick like this, and when I'm going to play golf, you go one driver length behind the ball, lay it down, and you and all your buddies can do it and have some fun, and I measure my ball speed on every tee shot on the course when I'm practicing. That makes sure you're taking.
I've actually done that with a Foresight, so there are crazy people
Oh yeah,
dragging a big thing around.
I won't
the
say I
golf course.
haven't.
yeah, no, exactly. But you get a ball speed, and the ball speed is really good.
Yeah.
It's super tight.
That's
And
really
so
interesting.
That leads into some other things you were talking to me about just prior to this. Is like, what can you use for that?
yeah, so because we Bluetooth data right to the app, right now we're working on some additional fun training modes that you can get out of the Stack radar. So you can imagine, like, because the ball speed and the club speed are so good, and I've measured this against a lot of other launch monitors, have them down at one time, and because the club speed and the ball speed are so good, we are right now working on some additional practice mode in the app where, for example, you might be able to do a wedge combine and have it gamified. So Mark, imagine this. You've done the training, you're stacking, you break a personal record, the app cheers for you.
Right.
Well, now you're doing a wedge combine and it tells you to hit a 75-yard shot. Boom, you hit one 68,
Oh, it gives you
maybe
a
it
little cheer.
boos you a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
You hit 176, you hit
Yep.
175, boom.
Well, that's the additional to speed, right? It's like, great, you gain speed, you hit it further down there. My dad's a great example. He needs 20 yards with this driver, so could add that with the stack potentially. But the missing piece for him is his short game. Well, that's
Yeah.
really what's going to change the handicap. So if he could just do some speed training, then jump into a wedge training, like they're the two ends of the bag that are going to kill his handicap.
Yes, exactly. So the big thing, and we've studied this on wedges, is it's not to ignore that spin law, friction, delivery, quality of contact is important. That's all important, right? But the primary thing that the better wedge players do is they control their club head speed. Right, that's the number one thing, and they obviously they control their
the angle,
the quality of strike, all those things, kind of a given. But nobody at this scale with this type of product trains like your ability to deliver your club head speed. Right, if I'm doing the old Dave Pell's clock system and I'm going 9 o'clock,
right.
I know because I've trained that 10,000 times that I'm going to hit that 50 yards plus or minus 2, but I've had to do that through like blood, sweat, and tears, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you have this product there and you're like, boom, and instantly it's like 51 yards and it's not a $20,000 TrackMan,
Yeah.
and everyone has access
The yardage
to
distance
it.
pretty close on the
It
wedges?
is really good.
And it's just getting basically, ball launch and speed, right?
Yeah, so if we
But
know...
that's really all you need for the most part. Spin doesn't change the distance that much.
Yeah, and especially, Mark, let's say you're at a course with like not so good range balls, right? Yeah, it's kind of tough to kind of rely on the spin and use the spin.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
it's like, what's the primary thing? You get the italicized number. It's mostly off by knowing the ball speed, right? So if we know the loft of the club, you tell the app what loft of the club you're using, right? So I'm going to hit my 56 degree.
Ah, got it. It needs to know what club it is.
And so it knows what club it is. It knows the club speed. It knows the ball speed. Now we get the smash factor. We can figure out really well, pretty creepily well, how far that ball is going to go.
Yeah. Well, people see with smash factors, obviously driver caps out 1.52, but you get damn close to a 1-to-1 ratio with a lot of wedge shots.
No, there's a big window right there where it's about 1. You'll see the club and ball speed be almost the same.
Well, that's why club speed delivery is so important. Because that eventually
That's a
turns
1-to-1
into what you're
ratio.
going to get, right?
Exactly.
And knowing you can hit a 60-yard
Exactly.
shot when you do a 60-yard shot, not 65, is pretty damn important.
No, that is
Difference being in a
important.
bunker or being 2 feet from the pin or being
Mark,
15, 20 feet.
I just played the PGA Professional Championship in Texas, PGA Frisco.
Right. Oh yeah.
The major, I missed qualifying for the PGA by 5. My game was just a little off, but you'll see it when they play the PGA and the Ryder Cups there. There's a hole number 7, and it's kind of a sort of drivable depending on where they put the tee.
Right.
But the left side of the green is you have an area literally this wide to land your wedge shot. And if you go in front of it, there's a roll off. You're going like 40 yards down into grainy Bermuda like this,
that's nasty.
into a firm green that's up here. And if you go long, same thing. I literally played with my playing partner, great player, was 2 shots off the PGA line, hit it over the green, good wedge shot, hit it over the green, chipped it over here, hit it up, rolled down, hit it over. I mean, I was like, he could be there all day, man. And I had 65 yards in. And I had been doing training.
Right. So you knew exactly what a 65 yards was.
I was like, okay, I got to trust it. Boom, hit it in there like this and made birdie. So, that was,
That's a big deal.
Yeah, you want to be able to train delivery on your club head speed on your wedges.
And this is all in the app, basically guiding you through that experience, or will be.
Yes, guiding you right through it. That's the fun part, is that I think practice has been very open-ended for people. Like even speed training. Oh, go watch these videos and do these things. It's not constrained enough.
Right.
And our app tells you exactly what to do. Mark, you've done it. It's like it's got the timer in there.
No.
When 15
I have
seconds.
a hard time with 15 seconds, by the
No,
way.
I
I got
know.
0 patience.
But
I'm
there is
jumping the
science.
gun on that a few times.
There is science behind that.
Yeah,
I'm
sure there is.
a lot of science behind that.
I'll try to pay close attention and see if I can make all 15 now.
So let me tell you, so what Mark's talking about is that when you're training, the app has a countdown timer.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, when 15 seconds go by, you do your swing. So if you are less compliant to that, you see right here I have this grit score. If you're less compliant to that, your grit score will go down. And we know from our big data,
I haven't looked at mine. That's not good. So I'll have to work on it now.
I can't imagine yours being
No,
good.
this can't
Mark's
be
trying
good.
to send an email in the 15
I
seconds.
know,
Yeah.
I know. I've been there too. So our folks that have a lower grit score, their gains are less than the folks that have a higher grit score.
I will pay more attention then next time.
And the grit has nothing to do with you gaining speed or losing speed.
It's how accurately you pay attention to what you're doing.
You're compliant. So how many days of rest between
Right.
between training sessions, and then how well do you stick to the timing of rest in each individual training session.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Not just golf. There's another tool on the bench here, which I mean doesn't look like golf to me. It would struggle to hit the ball with that thing. Where are you headed?
Yeah, this is super fun. So Sasha, my co-founder, he's a biomechanist consultant for the LA Dodgers as well, with bat fitting, things of that nature. And you can think about baseball very similar to golf, Mark, from the standpoint of like the mass properties of the object, right? And that's a big thing of what we did on the Stack golf hardware side, is we're looking at what is the moment of inertia around generally the center point of the hands, right? So in plane MOI in this direction, and we're manipulating the
weight on the back,
the weight to change that drastically. So that's a really big deal from a baseball standpoint, right? So what we're looking at here, super fun, is the Stack baseball. So this thing's hefty. It's got a lot more mass to it. The weights, the tip is the same, but the hardware is significantly different. Like the sleeve here is steel instead of aluminum. The weights go from 0 to 400 grams instead of 0 to 300 grams. So you see the diameter is a little bit bigger there.
Yep.
We have a super heavy stout kind of shaft equivalent to it. Beautiful taper to it, right, which is modeled after the average kind of knob shape on an MLB bat. And then we have a pretty beefy knob here at the end. This actually goes down inside the shaft too. There's about that much steel inside of there. And we did that to cover, Mark, bats it's pretty interesting in golf. Almost all drivers are like for, high club head speed players are like around 202 plus or minus like 3 grams. Like the head weights are like 199 to 206 or 207.
Pretty much has the range.
Well, in baseball, like if you did the equivalent in baseball, it'd be like 170 to 250. Like the range
that big a deal.
of bats that are used out there is enormous compared to golf.
I would imagine this research and stuff is going to start telling you what weight bat works better for you, right?
Yes, so that's.
I mean, because you want to obviously it gets heavier, you give up a little speed, but some people give up more than others, and the mass of the object is also important.
Totally.
To how fast the baseball is going, I guess, same as a golf ball.
And players' biomechanics are very, very different right there, right? But the high-level training philosophy is exactly the same. We're manipulating the weights, we're manipulating the load, and we're doing dynamic training exactly the same way, right? So we have about 6 or 8 MLB teams that are implementing the Stack baseball right now.
Well, you get one or two, and the guys get a little more speed all around. You're going to get them all really quick.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about baseball, is that you can multiply the gains times an entire team. Golf is an N=1 sport. It's like, okay, I'm trying to beat my buddy. I don't want him to use it. But in baseball, it's like, okay, you got 8 players. Let's say a few gain of 1 mile an hour, and let's say you gain an average of 2 or 3 miles an hour bat speed.
Plus the whole team.
Times the whole team, times the whole season.
That's how many more baseball. I don't know how much on that. Just being short of the wall is that, It could be substantial.
Well, I'm excited to see the stats to come out. If a team uses that, how much faster were they across the board, and what did that mean for their stats for wins for the year and that kind of stuff? That'd be awesome.
So we just launched this. We got our website, thestackbaseball.com. It's super fun. So use the same tech. So you can use this radar or PRGR.
Gotcha.
And then you have to elevate it. So a few things are a little bit different in baseball. You elevate the device. So this is kind of cool. We like this G-Pod here. So you put this up on a tripod, put it at the level, or you can use a batting tee, some of that nature. One thing that's different in baseball is that we have players swing in like high zone, mid zone, and low, right? So you're actually making those swings with that. With the different zones, obviously, unlike golf, the ball's right there. But what's interesting about baseball is that players are used to swinging and missing, right? So it's kind of like, they're more used to dry swings because whatever, 3/4 of the time you swing and miss, or
99% for
me. I went to the batting cage with my kid. I was like, this is tough. That is a tough skill. But a lot of the same questions are coming up. Hey, what about bat to ball skills, right? So I think it's fun to take what we've learned in golf. You've looked at all these players that were worried about, hey, centeredness of contact, driving skill, I'm going to hit it more wild. and it just hasn't played out. Those fears haven't played out. It's been the opposite.
Yeah.
You can work on your mechanics while you're speed training with no consequence.
Yeah.
We're taking that same philosophy into baseball. Like, hey, swing stick fast, and then train your bat to ball skills in exactly the same way you're already doing it. And marry those two things together, raise your speed ceiling. We're very excited. I think I'm maybe arguably a little bit more. Look, we even got the stack.
I see the logo in the grip there.
Oh, I do.
I'm arguably a little bit more satisfied with how the hardware turned out on the baseball end. And we have a youth version as well for the kiddos. And a really cool little fitting widget on our
So that thing might be a little hard to swing for a junior, that one.
Yeah, the junior one's very different. This is aluminum. The weight range is the same. This is aluminum up here. It's a little bit shorter. But we have plenty of overlap, which is kind of fun. We make a junior version of the stack too that's 3 inches shorter.
Gotcha.
But because we have such a big range in our weights,
Right.
you actually, you can use the junior bat age 13 and get the same training effect as the pro one. You'll just end up swinging substantially lighter weights with the pro one than the junior one.
Right.
But the MOI about the hands and the
It's the
load,
same. Yeah.
you get.
So
the
there's a
same.
crossover there.
There's a
You got,
crossover.
yeah.
We designed in a good crossover
Makes sense.
in that range.
And let's hone back in on the golf again. I mean, it sounds like you're almost in worldwide golf stores, which is a
Yeah.
huge thing
Yep.
for us, especially.
Yeah.
We're part of the worldwide golf family. Give us a little idea. I want to go out and want to buy the package. What we're looking at map if I want the radar and I want the stack together.
Yeah, so the stack, $349, and that gets you access to the app for 2 years included.
Okay.
Right, access to that for 2 years. $289 for the radar, Bluetooth radar. And on our website, you bundle them together. We'll probably do the same thing at Worldwide. You save like $50 when you bundle them together. So bundling's the way to go, right? But there's a lot of golfers out there that might have a Mevo Plus already.
Yeah,
They
Right.
might already
Oh,
have
we got a lot
an
of guys that
MLM2
have
Pro.
or TrackMan
a
in their
TrackMan,
house or whatever.
The new Foresight, brand new Foresight does speed
Okay.
training. Maybe you have PRGR from back in the day. The Mevo now added speed training mode. So I mean, it's just really fun that now there's accessibility to speed training mode in a lot of the radars. But if you're starting from scratch, definitely want to pair it with the stack radar because
I would.
it's super convenient.
By the way, anyone needs any PRGRs, I got a couple extra ones of those. I got a deal on those right now.
If someone said, "Hey, for $500 we'll get you 20 yards," I think you'd have a line of people throwing cash at you pretty quick.
$500 and just 6 weeks.
And basically half an hour a week.
Yeah, half
right?
hour a week.
A little less than an
Half
hour a week.
Yeah.
That's
So-
a good deal.
Yeah, and then the one other piece that's super fun. So when you buy the stack, you get access to also stack putting, right? So we kind of want to be like the brand, the stack. We call it the stack because you stack the
stack
weights
weights,
together,
right.
But the way I kind of think about the brand is that we want to help golfers build their skill stack, right? It's kind of like your
Right.
tech stack, Mark, in the technology
Yeah.
space. In the golf space, it's like we want to help golfers build their skill stack. So speed, it's the most correlated. Speed is the most correlated thing to your handicap. Faster your speed, the lower your handicap, right? So it's the most correlated. So we want to help people increase their club head speed. That's number one. Putting is the second most important skill.
Right.
So Sasha, my co-founder, again, had some really cool. He's got a cool putting area in his lab up there in Nova Scotia, Canada. They got a lot of time in the winter when it's cold up there.
Yep.
And so he developed like a way to gamify practicing your putting. You see all the players out there working on their putting on the tour in block practice, which is super important. We know that setup, alignment,
Right.
all those things are super important. The question is, and we've seen Scotty Scheffler doing this recently, going around the green, and Ted Scott is measuring out a distance, putting the ball down, and making him putt one ball with consequence like he is on the golf course, right? It's easy to not do that or not know how to practice your putting properly. So we built a mode in the app, Stack Putting here, which gamifies practicing your putting. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to hit Start Putting, and the app will tell you, find a 6-footer that's downhill
Straight.
and straight. Okay, now
Okay.
there's a lot of things you get from this. Now you as the golfer need to figure out how to find a straight putt. So out of the box, you're improving your green reading.
You're walking
It is
around.
actually really hard to figure out if a putt is perfectly straight uphill or straight downhill, right? So it's saying, hey, 6-footer downhill straight. Now let's say you block the putt you pushed it to the right,
Right.
but then it broke right to left and went in, right? So
Yep.
you made it, but you misread it,
Right.
right? So you could say, hey, I misread it, but I made it.
Nice one, putt.
You gained 0.35 shots strokes gained on that putt relative to tour. So you actually have to pass a test before you start using stack putting. There's like a certification because people don't know how to categorize a misread. For example, like, okay, I read this as straight, I pushed it, but it still went in. I misread it, but I made it, right?
Right.
So now we're getting tons of data. We've captured almost 1 million putts
Wow.
across a sweep of all kinds of stackers out there. We actually know what putter they're using because we have them tell us what putter they're using. Mark, we even have on the onboarding here, we have the golfer do a toe hang test and tell us, is it slide arc strong?
Interesting.
And and it's different.
So you can
from
sell them
mallet
if
or
it's
blade.
heavily toe down, a blade, and they keep leaving it right. That you might want to get something with a slightly different, less toe hang, so you can get it close faster.
Bingo. So
Wow.
we are capturing big data on that
Wow.
and
That's
getting all
interesting.
those insights, right? So it takes about 12 to 15 minutes, depending on how well you read the greens and things of that nature. You can change your strokes gain baseline. So let's say you onboard to the app and you're a 12 handicapper. This won't start you out at tour because you would hardly ever get to zero strokes gain
Right.
tour. That's actually really hard to do. Like if
oh.
I get to 0 strokes gain putting for 18 holes here, I'm like, yes, that's like really
Really?
good.
Oh, then
You
you're
know,
average
it's
on
tough.
tour, right?
Your average on tour. It gives you expected make percentage. So you got a 27% chance of making this putt for tour baseline, and the expected number of putts is 1.73. So you can get a lot of insight here while you're practicing. Okay, do I misread more right to lefters, left to righters?
right.
Do I struggle more on left to righters, right to lefters? Here's what the app is doing. It is assigning you putts from 4 feet to 30 feet in a distribution of those putts that are the most important from a strokes gain putting standpoint. So let's say normally, Mark, I would go warm up for a tournament. I would hit a bunch of 3-footers, block practice, straight in 3-footers.
Right.
Then I'd go lag some 40, 50-footers. Then I'd go on the course, and I'm like,
And
I
you
got
got
an
a
8-footer,
12-footer. Yeah,
12-footer,
right. Yeah, exactly.
16-footer, 6-footer. I'm like, I never practiced that.
Yeah.
The app forces you to hit the most important putts. You remember when Luke Donald was #1 in the world? He was better than everybody at 8-footers.
Yep.
Like that's from Mark Brody's book, right?
Yep.
So the app is forcing you to hit these putts that you have on the course that's going to separate you from your competition.
That's
That's
Super
huge.
fun.
And
Yeah.
the expectation as well. I think that's great to know the make percentage from whatever it is. It's like, oh, I shouldn't be expecting to make this at 30 feet. You know, people have really weird expectations in golf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it helps you tone it back, and those numbers change depending on your handicap.
Yeah.
Right? And so you get some really cool spider diagrams here that show your trends. You know, are you better uphillers?
That is
This is
cool.
like the
That
clock
is cool.
system, right?
Yeah.
So from straight down is 12 o'clock, straight uphill 6 o'clock, going around there. Where are you better? Where are you worse? What are your make rates relative to your baseline? Do you have a directional bias?
Do you use this on the course as well?
Mark,
when you're
come
playing?
on, let's go. We
Mark,
have
come on.
You do.
we have an on-course mode right here.
I'm sure that was
All
coming.
right, let's
Yeah.
enter a round. You know, you go 18 holes. You can do a complete. And if you're like a hardcore aim pointer, you can even put in your percent slope you
Oh, man.
measured
Oh,
on that
boy.
particular putt.
Oof.
Super detailed. This is the most granular you can kind of record. So we have that, or this is also really cool. We have creative combines. So you can create your own putting combine. Right? So, and do you have a slope green or not? If you don't, this is mostly for indoor.
Yep.
Like a lot of indoor
Right, right,
facilities
yep.
using this, but up north. You can put in here, hey, I want to hit putts from 5 feet to 8 feet, you know, to 8 feet if you want to. You can put in your number of holes and all that stuff. Design your own putting combine. And then get this, you can actually text that. Let's say you have that. I can send this right here and share it to you. You can open it in your app, Mark, and now you can do the putting combine I designed.
Oh, that's cool.
College coaches love
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Oh, they get the kids all playing each other.
They're all
Even
playing
though
each
not
other.
necessarily.
Yeah. And we have a sharing mode in the app where I can send you my code. You can follow all of my progress. So the coaches love this. If
Yeah.
you're a golf instructor, this is phenomenal. You can outsource your speed training to us. You can say, hey, student, I want you to do 3 stack putting sessions. You can follow them remotely and say, hey, you're struggling with right to lefters. Let's go work on that.
Yeah.
Oh, you've gained 6 miles an hour club head speed. That's great. Let's take a look at your equipment, right? Let's work on, let's work on your wedge stuff. Let's make sure you're taking your ball speed to the course.
It's pretty incredible.
There's a lot of options, but the
Wow.
putting is super fun.
That's first time I've seen it. So
Oh,
kind
it's so detailed and so nuanced,
Yeah.
right? So, and you can.
This has nothing to do with the actual thing here.
No, you play with
It's just playing, it's just
your normal putter, and
But,
folks
it's so important to actually practice putting. What happens on the golf course.
yeah.
And very few people practice putting. That's the only reason we actually do a little teaching in our putting fittings because
you
people
should.
just don't take any lessons on it
Yeah.
and have any idea what they're doing. But at least to have some intention on trying different speeds and tracking what you're doing.
Yeah.
Certainly makes sense.
Ben Crane, he's our biggest stack putting user. He loves it. He does like
Really?
a couple sessions a day. Like
Amazing.
he's got hundreds of stack putting sessions.
I was about to ask, maybe you can't divulge it, but how many tour players do you have using this equipment?
Oh man, I got my little short list right here. We got a lot. There's probably 40 active PGA Tour players that are actively using the stack right now.
Wow.
That's a lot.
I'd be surprised if it
25%
wasn't
of
more
them,
than
that's a
that.
lot,
They know their stats nowadays. There's no one out there under the rock that doesn't know that these
Yeah.
things are going on.
That's excluding LPGA Tour. We have a ton of LPGA Tour.
Right.
Corn Ferry is explosive because
bet.
they're trying to make it.
Yeah,
They're trying to look for every edge possible. And so, yeah, I think what's been fun about the PGA Tour players, I mean, you got a list of all the names right here that we have actively using it, is that they've continued to use it. They use it, they gain speed, and then they're either on that kind of maintenance mode, and then maybe off season they'll try to make a little push to get a little bit more. But they've adopted this as a habit, and I would view speed training very much like working on your chipping and putting, right? It's a golf skill, and so I think that's where the future is going. It's like, okay, in my golf skills I'm going to practice, I need to practice speed. That is like a skill.
Yep.
I need to practice chipping. That's a skill. I need to practice bunker play. That's a skill. Speed should be looked at and treated just like one of your core, arguably your most fundamental golf skill.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's no one that's Benjamin Button out there that I know of, so everyone's speed's going in the same direction for the most part.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's been fun.
So good. I mean, I can't believe this all in one thing. I really, honestly, this is kind of eye-opening for me. Obviously, the baseball's cool as well, but, the speed, the wedge play, the putting, it's really, really blown up since we last spoke.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. It's so if you buy the stack, you get access to everything, but you can also download the putting directly. Let's say you're not, you don't want to work on your speed training. You can just get access to the putting directly, and use it individually, right? Oh. So super fun to connect with friends through the app too.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people doing that,
I can see that,
and
for
hold
sure.
each other accountable. So you got your old college buddies. You're like, okay, guys, let's do a little speed competition this off season.
I'm gonna have to work on that with my member guest partner.
Exactly.
Let's
do it.
Are you really practicing for this thing?
Exactly. Prove it.
Accountability, that's right.
So super fun. Yeah, the app sends reminders to your phone when you work out. It really is like your personal trainer in your pocket type of thing.
For golf. That's pretty
Well,
cool.
I hurt myself
Super
recently, but as soon as I'm ready to swing, I started using it actually probably 3 weeks ago, and I can I think I only did 4 sessions.
Yeah.
And gained a good 3, 4 miles an hour.
Totally.
So I was really getting excited about it, and then bang myself up. But I'm going to do it this summer, and you should do it as well.
Yeah, I should do it.
And let's track
100%.
what we do. How much speed we gain and stuff, and keep everyone in the loop.
Yeah.
it's
Fun to
cool.
track it. Mark, here's what you need. So when life happens, you're
Right.
traveling, you got to go to Europe for 2 weeks, you get you banged up for a little bit, and you don't want to restart from zero, right? You use this, return to form.
I will do
Gradually
that.
return following a mid-program break. So we got you covered, right?
Okay,
Right?
perfect.
Speed priming, another fun little feature in the app, is a way to get, let's say you show up to the course, and you only have 15 minutes to get to the first tee, and the first hole is like a reachable par 5. What do? We have a short 7-minute workout with the stack.
Just get your
It's
speed
the
up.
perfect combination of overspeed
That makes
overload.
total sense because that happens
you
all
get
the
to
time.
that first tee and you're ready to go.
Really, yeah. Well, we need that. We
We
run
do
for the
need
golf
that.
course.
We all the time. Yeah.
It's good to use before a driver fitting. You got somebody coming in,
Yeah.
or you're warming up with 7 irons? No, do.
Hadn't thought about that
it's
one.
called a pre-round speed priming.
That is a really good
a
idea.
great way
Yeah.
to kind of get somebody ramped up
Yeah.
in a short amount of time for like a driver fit.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
a lot of options. A lot of options.
Well, we do sell these at cool clubs here in Scottsdale. So come into the store, check it out, purchase them here. Worldwide Golf is on the cusp by the time this is released. Who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
they're in store already, but any Worldwide Golf store across the country. and get yourself some speed, get yourself some putting and some wedge play. It's your stack.
Time to get stacked.
Yeah, I'm in.
If you're not stacking, you're slacking.